I feel the Spirit moving in me. I feel the Spirit moving in me.
Well, as you know, Blaine is still on vacation, enjoying himself in sunny Washington. Now, he's freezing his tuchus off, so he dodged the rain, but he didn't get away scot-free, so we'll rub that in, and he'll be back next week. And the talk today is by this guy, Adam Lightplay. I don't know where they got this guy, but oh, thank you. And I volunteered for it, kind of drew a blank, finally had an epiphany about a week ago of a structure that I could hang all kinds of platitudes and thoughts on, and that is the 5 W's. Who, what, why, where, when, and how. You might have heard of those. And when I was growing up, my father told me, in school, 95% of what you learn is never going to apply to your life. But the reason you go to school is you don't know what 5% is going to be the part that matters. And I was very happy 10 years later to go back and tell a couple of my teachers, you were part of that 5 or 10% that affected me. And one of those was, for old school people who might know him, Will Griffiths at Maui Community College. It wasn't UHMC, it was just MCC back then, Maui Community College. And he taught world religions, which expanded my agnostic mind a bit. And over at Maui High School, Miss Linda Helt, the journalism and satire teacher, really cool lady, she had a record player in there. She had Abbey Road. She played us the sounds of silence and asked us what we thought it meant. And she encouraged us to think. And she was also the journalism teacher. And that's where I started in journalism and photography, which eventually grew into videography. And what I'm leading up to is that she told us in just about the very first day of journalism class, she said, the first paragraph of any story you write should contain the 6 W's. Who's involved? What's going on? Why is it going on? Where did it happen? When did it happen? And how did it unfold? All those questions. She says if you could work them all into the first sentence, great, but they should at least be in the first paragraph. And that stuck with me all my life. And this week at Akaku, one of the things I do is help write the news. And boy, is that coming into play. A lot of exciting news this week going on. And I've even seen, it's also important in advertising if you want to get a message out. I'm surprised how many times I've seen a flyer for some great event. Come to our carnival, it'll be fun for the keikis, all this stuff going on. 6:30, what day? They forgot to mention. Or they get the day and the time and they forgot to tell me where it is. Yeah. So even if you're doing promotion, it's good to review those. Okay, did I cover all those things? What, where, when, why, who, how, all those important things. So it's good for journalism and advertising, but then I suddenly had an epiphany that it could apply to our life and to prayer, and it's really a good tool for just about anything in our life. So if we ask ourselves, who am I? Let's get it a little bigger on the screen here. I went into AI to get it to help me make a few graphics, and for some reason it added, phew, I guess that's the 7th W. Who, what, why, where, when, how, and phew. What a week I'm having, I tell you. So I don't know why it added that, but I kind of like that. So as we go through our life, we want to say, who am I? Who am I playing with? And all of these questions may have an accurate answer, but if they don't, they at least inspire you to think and go into that area and maybe who's told you something? Do you believe it? What do you think about it is true? And why? Why does it make sense to you? Why does it touch your heart? And where am I? Hopefully you know that one. When and the how is very important. We'll talk about that too. So in spirituality, who am I? Who is God? What's going on here? Why am I on this planet? How did I get here? What am I supposed to accomplish? What do I believe is important about my life? And someone last week really inspired me to think about the why, the question of why. We may know what we're doing and when and where, but it's always good to review the why. Byron Katie encourages us to say, is this really true, what's in our life? Is this an accurate belief? Why do I believe that? Does that resonate with me? Is that true for me? And see, I'm moving through this rather quickly. I don't know if I can fill the whole 20 minutes. Why not? There was something else about why. Just a really good question to expand your mind and reach out there, ask that of God, ask that of your knowing, and the justification behind your actions. Think about that, and it might take you in a lot of interesting directions. And I also wanted, in the course of that, I saw a Facebook meme that made me think about how many things we accept as a given. So many quotations, what's that one about? Give a man a fish, he eats today. Teach a man to fish, and he eats for a lifetime. But then somebody on Facebook said, you can give a man a fish and then teach him how to fish. It's a lot easier to learn how to fish when you're not starving. So let's take all of our established beliefs, all of those things we've been taught, and say why, or is that still true for me, or does that make sense? And there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, if you live under a mango tree or an avocado tree, there probably is a free lunch. And that's kind of the design of the universe. Everybody's feeding lunch to each other. That's kind of how we evolved and how this whole thing is going. So we are a great computer. So you want to ask yourself those good questions. Tony Robbins said that, if we ask, our brain is a manifesting, brilliant engine connection to source. So if we ask our brain, why am I such a loser? Our brain will say, oh, well, because you're ugly and, because you did that and you're a failure and you should have done this. Our brain will come up with a justification for what we ask. So why not ask our brain, how can I do something magnificent? What's the highest truth here? What am I about? If we ask our inner computer for that, then we've challenged it to give us better answers. And you'll be surprised how brilliant you can be when you simply ask yourself those questions. And I was in a dating class once, teaching you how to socialize and get out there and date. And the teacher said something very interesting. She said, I don't want you to come in here and say, I want a man who's 6 feet tall with dark hair. I want this. I want him to have that. And we've been taught a lot in the world of affirmations to be specific. The more specific you are about what you want, the more you crystallize it into what God can manifest for you. And to some degree, that's the truth. But she said, instead of focusing on the physical or the moment or the particular things about the person that you can observe from the outside, she says, ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm with that person? When I'm with that person, what sort of experience do I have? She called it the touchstone, and I've always remembered that underneath everything. So if you have a desire for a white SUV that's, this particular model, great. If that's the car you're shopping for, that's your ideal. But also, what is it about an SUV that feels right to you? Maybe it's getting around safer on days like today when the roads are flooded. Maybe it's having room for your whole family. So what is the underlying thing? Instead of just, oh, this is going to solve my problem. I want an apartment there, or I want a car of this type. If you look at what's underneath, what's driving that, oh, that's what I'm really looking for. So in the magical universe, maybe the answer isn't as specific. Maybe it won't come from buying that SUV from that dealer. Maybe somebody will hand you a vehicle that is even better than you expected. So leave room for the magic and ask for the what, but the how. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay. You all know Mars and Venus. The men are from Mars, women are from Venus. It could be nowadays considered, a little sexist or a little limited, but it was nice to see the general tendencies of how our human nature differs. And one of the things, I'm not sure if it was in the Mars-Venus books or just something that people said, is that if you want a man to do something, ask him what you want him to do, but don't tell him how to do it. And I think that's true because men love to do for their women. Men love to be the hero. And men will love to slay the dragon for you. I mean, this is kind of an old metaphor because now dragons are cool and men are not so cool. So I don't know. Nowadays, women would rather be lost in the forest with a dragon than with a man. So times have changed, but just go with me. All right. Times have changed a little bit, but go with me on the dragon slaying metaphor for just a moment. We love to be a hero. We would love to slay the dragon for you. But if you then say, you're using that sword? You're only going to use the 26-inch sword, Don't get it all over the house, whatever you do when you stab the dragon, and you start telling, someone exactly how to do it, kind of takes the energy off, kind of takes the magic. And I see that at work also. A good boss at work tells their employee, hey, I want you to get this done. But they don't micromanage it and say, you have to do it exactly this way, this way, this way. Maybe that person is brilliant. Maybe that person's got a different workflow. Maybe they listen to rock and roll, but they get amazing work done. Maybe they eat their chips at their desk, but it's the results, it's the accomplishment. It's not necessarily the how. We've all got our own style. And I think that applies also to even the political spectrum. I really don't think we're that different in the world that we want, but most of the argument is about over how we're going to get there. So if we can focus on what we agree on, what we do want to have together, instead of arguing about how we get there, maybe that'll help the conversation a little bit. Lord, I hope. Okay. And I used to go to a church called Spirit Works in Burbank, California, CSL. That's our sister religion, the Centers for Spiritual Living, very similar to what we believe. And Reverend Ann Ray was there. I think now she's in New Mexico. And she used to say, God has a bigger Rolodex than we do. So again, you want to think about, what do I want? I would like this in my life. This is what I'm visualizing. But don't tell God exactly how to do it. Maybe God's got a better idea. Maybe God's got some other resources that you don't even know about that will help bring that to you. So whether you're asking God or yourself or the universe, be clear about what you want. Yes, absolutely. Have a clear picture. But leave a little wiggle room that maybe how you think it's going to happen is not the only way that it could happen. Maybe God can hook you up with an amazing resource you never saw coming, another person, another event, another coincidence. There's so many of us. There's unlimited things going on. So let those be possible. Okay. So, like I said, in affirmations, you can look at who am I? What am I trying to accomplish? Who might assist me in manifesting what I want? Why do I want this? What's the power? What's the energy? What's the enthusiasm? Because when you add the passion and the emotionality to whatever you're affirming or praying for, when you add that power of that desire to it, that's what empowers it. When and where? Well, it's very important to do affirmations in the present tense. If you're affirming, someday I'll be rich, then the universe says, okay, someday you'll be rich. But if you say, I am wealthy and prosperous right at this moment, my needs are met, I have the resources, life is working for me right in this moment, then you're claiming that that is your reality, your state at that moment. And that is another powerful message to your brain to see it and accept it and know it. And what all the details, your prayer, your affirmation, go ahead and put all the details in there. But like we said, leave some of that how up to the source. And remember that you are a brilliant manifesting computer. You are a walking, self-programming hologram. You are going through a universe, you're sharing it with 7 billion other manifestors, but in your reality, you're resonating, you're bouncing, you're connecting with your vision, a reflection of your mind. So I just encourage you to remember these. To me, it just seemed like so simple. If nothing else, maybe I'm going to start a cult or a religion or something around the 5 W's. Figure out how to monetize it, get lots of followers or whatever you do nowadays to get successful. But just who am I? Who? What? Why? Where? When? How is this going to happen? So let's do a little meditation. If you just relax, let the week go. What an interesting week. Challenges. Many times this week, I'm sure we were asking ourselves, how do I make this through this? What do I need to mop up? Which window do I need to cover? What do I need to do to keep myself safe and sound? So it's been an exciting 2 weeks, but we have survived it. We are here in our center, in our strength, with our loved ones, holding it all together. And whether we're at home or here in the sanctuary today, we just relax. We let that stress and fear and all that was going through our body, we let that just drain into the ground. We just let that soak out of our feet and flow into all that other liquid that's already on the floor. And we bring in sunlight and joy and clarity and wisdom through our crown chakra. We open up all our chakras to the flow of the universe, to the knowing, manifesting energy of life. And in that space, we just ask ourselves a few questions. Who am I? Who are you? Who are you? Who is around you? What is going on here? What have I gotten myself into? What sort of planet did I choose to spend a millennia on, loving and healing and interacting with? Where am I on this planet? What is my community? Where is my heart? Where do I fit into this beautiful, unfolding universe? When is it? And the answer is always now. What am I here for? What is mine to do? Not everything, not nothing, just that sacred duty. And I believe what is ours to do is what calls to us, our artistic expression, those things that we just can't keep inside ourselves, that we have to express, that we have to give to our universe. That's our sacred gifts. We don't have to give something that is a pain and a huge effort for us to do. God's brilliant design, I believe, is that what's ours to do is what flows easily from you. What is yours to do? And how will you accomplish it? And that's that magical area that you dabble into. Well, it looks like if I do this and that, that'll lead toward it. But you also leave some of the how, some of the magic to the infinite source that has such a bigger Rolodex. And if you're under 40, they have a bigger friends list or more subscribers or whatever the young people call it. But you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the resources. We're talking about the availability of so much magic and potential that surrounds us. So we know that we are connected. We know that the infinite source has got our back. We know that it is God's good pleasure to answer our dreams, to fulfill those visions, because they came from that source and that oneness anyway. So we are part of that wholeness, and we are just unfolding it and adding our specific little spin to a beautiful wholeness that we live in. And so it is. That's what I got. Thank you. And I'm open to questions later. I probably forgot half the things I wanted to share. No, but it's all perfect. So let's see. Oh, one more time. Let's say that affirmation together. I know who I am, what I want, why, and how much I deserve it. Okay. And let's say our prayer of protection and circle up and sing our peace prayer. So go ahead and stand, get into your oomph, get into your chi, drain that stress out of your feet and channel in that power through your head, and know that the light of God surrounds us. That love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. All right, let's.
Where I live, they're all raised.